During Holy Week, watching films is not just about passing the time. It is about encountering stories that can touch the heart and inspire real reflection. But among so many productions, one question naturally comes up. Which one is the most powerful? Which one can make you think the most? Today, I'm going to present the 10 best movies for Holy Week, and the last one will surprise you. Number 1. The Passion of the Christ. Very few films have moved audiences as deeply as The Passion of the Christ. Directed by Mel Gibson and starring Jim Caviezel, this production is not simply a movie, but a work that has become an intense and unforgettable experience in the history of cinema. With powerful realism and no attempt to soften the events, The Passion of the Christ takes us through the final hours of Jesus. From his deep agony in the Garden of Gethsemane to his painful journey toward Calvary. The story presents in great detail the harshness of his trial, the brutal scourging he endured, and the immense suffering he bore on the cross. Every scene was designed to convey the magnitude of his sacrifice and the steadfast love he showed for all humanity. Jim Caviezel delivers an extraordinary performance, bringing Jesus to life with an emotional intensity that reaches far beyond the screen. His gaze, his movements, and the expressions of pain he conveys make the viewer feel every blow and every thorn with disturbing closeness. In addition, the film was shot entirely in Aramaic, Latin, and Hebrew, which adds another level of authenticity to the story. Beyond the intense scenes that define it, The Passion of the Christ is, at its core, a story of love, sacrifice, and redemption. Its impact was so great that it led millions of people to reflect on their faith and on the true meaning of Christ's sacrifice. Although it sparked controversy because of the intensity of its scenes, it is impossible to deny that it is one of the most powerful portrayals of the life of Jesus. It is a film that generates different opinions, but it unquestionably leaves a deep impression on anyone who chooses to watch it. Are you ready to experience this story again? Number 2. Jesus of Nazareth. If there is one production that has left a deep mark across several generations, it is Jesus of Nazareth, the famous miniseries directed by Franco Zeffirelli. With a runtime of more than 6 hours, this work is considered by many to be one of the most complete and faithful portrayals of the life of Jesus ever brought to the screen. From his birth in Bethlehem to the events of his crucifixion and resurrection, the story unfolds with a level of detail and depth that few productions have managed to achieve. Robert Powell, who plays Jesus, delivers a truly unforgettable performance. His distinctive blue eyes and calm expression were etched into the minds of millions of viewers around the world. His portrayal communicates a combination of love, compassion, and spiritual authority that has made it one of the most memorable depictions of Christ in the history of film. One of the most striking elements of this production is its respect for the gospel accounts. Every scene was carefully crafted to reflect the biblical narratives, from the miracles to the teachings of Jesus. Scenes such as the Sermon on the Mount, the Last Supper, and the trial before Pilate are presented with a dramatic intensity that moves the viewer and invites reflection. Even though it was released in 1977, Jesus of Nazareth remains one of the most watched productions during Holy Week. The quality of its production, along with the costumes and settings, transports the viewer to the Holy Land of more than 2,000 years ago. More than just a film, it has become a work of faith that has inspired entire generations. If you still haven't seen it, this may be the perfect opportunity to discover one of the most impactful stories ever brought to the screen. Number 3. Ben-Hur. Ben-Hur is not just a movie. It is one of the most monumental productions in the history of cinema. Directed by William Wyler and starring Charlton Heston, this masterpiece won 11 Academy Awards, a record that stood for many years. However, beyond its enormous cinematic recognition, Ben-Hur tells a profound story about revenge, redemption, and faith. The plot follows the life of Judah Ben-Hur, a Jewish nobleman who is betrayed by the man who was once his closest friend, the Roman Messiah. After being unjustly condemned to slavery, Judah is consumed by the desire for revenge. But his destiny leads him to cross paths with Jesus of Nazareth, an encounter that will completely transform his life. Although that meeting is brief, it becomes one of the key points in the story, showing the contrast between the desire for vengeance and the power of forgiveness. One of the most memorable moments in the film is the famous chariot race, considered one of the most impressive scenes ever filmed in cinema. Without the use of digital effects, The entire sequence was created with real horses and dangerous stunts, making it even more striking for the viewer. But beyond the spectacle, the movie has a spiritual depth that makes it an ideal choice for Holy Week. Throughout the story, we see Ben-Hur's transformation, moving from resentment and bitterness to a new hope through the influence of Christ. The final scene, when Judah witnesses the crucifixion and comes to understand the true meaning of Jesus' sacrifice, becomes one of the most emotional moments in film history. Ben-Hur is a story about struggle, justice, and above all, redemption. More than a great Hollywood epic, it is a reminder that true strength is not found in revenge, but in forgiveness. Number 4. The Ten Commandments. If there is one epic film that has left a deep mark on the history of cinema, it is The Ten Commandments. Directed by Cecil B. DeMille and starring Charlton Heston as Moses, this monumental production remains one of the greatest landmarks of biblical filmmaking, even nearly 7 decades after its release. The story tells the life of Moses, from his early years growing up in Egypt to the moment when he receives the mission to free the Hebrew people from slavery. His confrontation with Pharaoh Ramses II, played by Yul Brynner, becomes one of the central driving forces of the plot. Throughout the film, we see how Moses goes from living as a prince in the Egyptian court to becoming the leader chosen by God to guide his people toward the promised land. One of the most striking moments in the film is the parting of the Red Sea, one of the most ambitious and memorable scenes ever created in the history of cinema. For its time, the special effects were groundbreaking, producing an unforgettable sequence that still amazes new generations today. Yet beyond its visual spectacle, The Ten Commandments is a story about faith, obedience, and the power of God. The giving of the tablets of the law on Mount Sinai marks one of its most important moments, when Moses receives the commandments that would shape the course of humanity. This film is not only a classic of cinema, but also a lesson that reminds us of the importance of faith and justice. It is a work that continues to inspire and move every new generation that discovers it. If you still have not seen it, Holy Week is the perfect opportunity to immerse yourself in this timeless story and relive one of the greatest accounts in the Bible. Number 5. The Prince of Egypt. Among the most powerful animated films ever made, The Prince of Egypt holds a truly special place. Produced by DreamWorks, this extraordinary work not only tells the story of Moses in a way that is accessible for the whole family, but also does so with stunning animation and a soundtrack that has remained in the hearts of audiences for years. The story takes us from the childhood of Moses, who was raised as a prince in the court of Egypt, to the moment when he discovers his true identity as part of the Hebrew people. His life changes completely when God calls him to fulfill a mission, to deliver his people from slavery. Throughout the film, we witness his inner conflict, his unavoidable confrontation with Pharaoh Ramses, and the great miracles that accompany his mission, such as the 10 plagues and the parting of the Red Sea. One of the most outstanding aspects of The Prince of Egypt is the powerful message it communicates about faith and purpose. Moses is not portrayed as a perfect or invincible hero, but as a man who also faces doubts, fears, and difficult decisions. That makes him much more human and relatable to the viewer. The film also stands out for its remarkable soundtrack. Songs like Deliver Us and When You Believe, performed by Mariah Carey and Whitney Houston, add a deep emotional weight that lifts the story to another level. Even though it is an animated production, its narrative is so strong that it can move both children and adults alike. With a combination of visual grandeur, an inspiring story, and a message that transcends time, The Prince of Egypt becomes an ideal choice for Holy Week. If you still have not seen it, this may be the perfect chance to discover one of the finest adaptations of the story of Moses ever brought to the screen. Wait a moment, we want to hear from you. So far, which of these movies has impacted you the most? Write the title of your favorite in the comments, or tell us if you think there is another one that should be on this list. And if you're enjoying the video, don't forget to leave a like and keep watching, because there are still more incredible stories to discover. Let's continue. Number 6. Risen. What would happen if the resurrection of Jesus were investigated like a military case? That is the premise of Risen, a film that presents this story from a different and very interesting perspective. The plot follows Clavius, a Roman tribune played by Joseph Fiennes, who is ordered to locate the body of Jesus after the crucifixion. Pilate fears that Christ's followers may have stolen the body in order to make people believe that he truly rose from the dead, which could stir unrest among the people. Clavius, a soldier shaped by discipline and logic, begins a careful investigation, questioning witnesses, and following every lead with the goal of disproving the resurrection story. But as his search continues, the facts begin to challenge the way he understands reality. The testimonies of soldiers, disciples, and others who claim to have witnessed something extraordinary start to plant doubt in his mind. Then comes the moment when he stands face to face with the risen Jesus, and everything he thought he understood collapses. In that instant, his view of life, death, and truth changes completely, forcing him to make a decision that will shape the rest of his life. What makes Risen unique is that the story unfolds through the eyes of someone who does not believe. The film not only shows the events surrounding the resurrection, but also allows us to experience the impact those events had on the people who witnessed them. With polished production, convincing performances, and a story that holds the viewer's attention, Risen presents a compelling account of faith, redemption, and the inner struggle of a man confronted with the greatest truth ever told. If you are looking for a different kind of film about the resurrection, Risen is an excellent choice to watch during Holy Week. Number 7. Mary, Mother of Jesus. The story of Jesus has been told in many ways over the years, but only rarely has it been presented through the eyes of his own mother. Mary, Mother of Jesus, offers an intimate and deeply emotional perspective on the role Mary played in the life of her son, from his birth to the events of his crucifixion and resurrection. Played by Pernilla August, Mary is presented not only as the mother of Jesus, but as a woman of strong faith, capable of facing pain and uncertainty with remarkable strength. The film shows how her life changes completely when the angel Gabriel appears to her and announces that she will give birth to the Son of God. From that moment on, Mary humbly accepts the path God has prepared for her, fully aware that her son will bring hope and salvation to the world. Throughout the story, we see the deep love and constant concern she feels for Jesus as he grows and begins his ministry. Mary witnesses many of his miracles and hears his teachings, but she also watches as he faces increasing opposition. The most painful moment comes when she sees him arrested, put on trial, and finally condemned to die on the cross. Her suffering as a mother is immense, yet even in the midst of that pain, she keeps her trust in God's promises. One of the things that makes this film special is the way it presents Mary's humanity. She is not only the mother of the Savior, but also a woman who experiences love, pain, and faith in a deeply real way. Her story reminds us of the importance of trusting God even when we are going through the most difficult moments. Mary, Mother of Jesus, is an excellent choice for Holy Week because it allows us to reflect on the passion of Christ through the eyes of the one who loved him most on earth. Number 8. The Young Messiah. Few productions have explored the childhood of Jesus as delicately as The Young Messiah. Inspired by Anne Rice's novel Christ the Lord, Out of Egypt, this film presents an imagined yet meaningful account of the little-known years of Jesus before he began his ministry. The story follows Jesus at the age of 7 while he is living in Egypt with his family. Mary and Joseph have raised him with love and devotion, although it soon becomes clear that there is something special about him. As time passes, Jesus begins to realize that he possesses unusual abilities, such as healing the sick and even bringing the dead back to life. Even so, he still does not fully understand who he is or what mission awaits him. When the family finally returns to Nazareth, Jesus begins asking profound questions that even his parents cannot fully answer. At the same time, Herod Antipas, troubled by the prophecy of a child destined to become king, orders a search for the young Jesus and sends soldiers with the goal of eliminating any possible threat. What makes the young Messiah distinctive is that the story unfolds through the eyes of a child who slowly begins to discover his divine identity. The film highlights his compassion, curiosity, and innocence, allowing viewers to imagine what his early years might have been like. With careful cinematography and an emotional narrative, this production invites reflection on the mystery of the Incarnation and on Jesus' growth both as a man and as the Son of God. If you are looking for a different perspective on the life of Christ, The Young Messiah can be an excellent choice for Holy Week. It is a film that reminds us that although Jesus came to be the Savior of the world, he also experienced what it meant to grow up as a child filled with faith and wisdom. Number 9. Paul, Apostle of Christ. The history of Christianity cannot be understood without Paul, the man who went from persecuting believers to becoming one of the most influential apostles of the faith. Paul, apostle of Christ, takes us into the final days of his life as he remains imprisoned in a dark Roman cell, waiting for his execution during the reign of Nero. While in prison, Paul, played by James Faulkner, receives visits from Luke, played by Jim Caviezel, his close friend and fellow believer. Luke risks his own safety to record the apostles' experiences and teachings, writing what would later become part of the Book of Acts and the letters addressed to the early churches. At the same time, Christians living in Rome face brutal persecution and must decide whether to flee to save their lives or remain firm in their faith despite the danger. The film presents Paul as an elderly man, marked by the wounds of the past, both physical and emotional, yet with a faith that remains steady and unshaken. Through flashbacks, we revisit key moments from his life, his time as a persecutor of Christians, his dramatic conversion on the road to Damascus, and his tireless mission to proclaim the gospel. One of the film's most powerful elements is its message of grace and forgiveness. Paul, who once approved the deaths of Christians, now proclaims the love of God and salvation in Christ, reminding us that no one is beyond the reach of redemption. With strong period detail and a profound story, Paul, apostle of Christ, stands out as a film about faith, sacrifice, and hope, making it a perfect choice for Holy Week. It invites viewers to reflect on the transforming power of the gospel and the courage of those who gave their lives for Christ. Number 10, God's Not Dead. What would you do if your faith were put to the test in a college classroom? That is the central idea of God's Not Dead, a film that challenges believers to defend what they believe in a world that grows increasingly skeptical. The story follows Josh Wheaton, played by Shane Harper, a young Christian student who enrolls in the philosophy class of Professor Radisson, played by Kevin Sorbo, who is known for his openly atheistic views. On the first day of class, Radisson asks all the students to write the phrase, "God is dead," on a piece of paper, promising them an easy passing grade if they agree. But Josh refuses. Because of that decision, the professor challenges him to defend his position before the entire class by presenting arguments that support the existence of God. Throughout the film, Josh prepares himself by researching scientific and philosophical ideas and presenting his case while facing criticism, mockery from some classmates, and even disapproval from his own girlfriend. At the same time, several other storylines unfold in parallel. A journalist receives a difficult diagnosis. A successful businessman struggles with spiritual emptiness, and a young Muslim man begins to explore Christianity in secret. One of the most intense moments comes when Radisson, the professor who seemed to have all the answers, reveals the personal conflict he carries with God because of a tragedy in his past. The story builds toward a final confrontation in which every position is laid bare and the truth becomes clear to everyone. God's Not Dead is not just a movie, but an invitation to reflect. Would you be willing to defend your faith when the world challenges you? With a strong message and a soundtrack many viewers still remember, this film is a solid choice for Holy Week, reminding us that faith in God is still alive and that it is worth proclaiming. We have now gone through some of the most impactful films for reflection during Holy Week. Each of them carries a deep message about faith, sacrifice, and hope. Now, I would love to hear your opinion. Which of these films is your favorite? Or which one do you think should have been included on this list? Write it in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, do not forget to like it, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you can keep receiving more content about faith and the Bible. You can also share this video with someone who may need a message of inspiration during Holy Week. See you in the video on the screen. God bless you abundantly.